Okay, we are live, but we got to let it breathe so that we can connect to the Facebookers. What's going on, everybody? How is it going? How do you do? Or like my one good buddy would be, how do? I'm like, aren't you missing a couple words there? But welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him. You love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, so since we were on last Monday, it's kind of been a busy week. We talked about of course, the terrible news of Alex Singleton's cancer diagnosis. But first things first, real quick, your gut reaction to the Broncos bringing back Lil Jordan Humphrey.
This dude is inevitable, Chad. The Broncos and Sean Payton cannot quit him. Although once I settled down after news of his signing came out, I realized this is more of a reflection on Trent Sherfield, and rightly so. Sherfield was signed for his special teams and his blocking prowess at receiver. We haven't seen a net positive much of that, Chad. And the Troy Franklin screen pass that he ran into the blocker, that was a Sherfield block. If there's one good thing Lil Jordan Humphrey can do, that's block along the perimeter. So for that, I like the move.
I just like that one thing Sean Payton said about him yesterday. I think you wrote this up, didn't you, Zach? Just about how smart he is. He said, quote,
right.
I think just as we're into this run, having depth, we know the player really well. One of his strengths is his football IQ. He can play a lot of different spots. And then, of course, the roster availability. But he went on to talk about hey, we kind of have this roster spot open for now, but we'll see. In other words, if I'm Lil Jordan Humphrey, I'm not getting too comfortable. But the cool thing about the Broncos doing it this way is, hey, you signed him off the Giants practice squad. In order to do so, you have to bring him onto your actual 53-man roster. Whether that lasts a week, Zach, or 2 weeks, it brings him closer to the fold. So, if you do have to waive him, you can just kind of stash him on your practice squad.
Right. Yeah, true. This could not be the last of Lil Jordan Humphrey that we see, even if he's cut. That's a good point. But again, he's familiar with the scheme. He played with Sean Payton in New Orleans. He's one of the Sean Payton favorites. And as long as he doesn't take away one single passing route from Pat Bryant or any of the other young receivers, I can co-sign the move. They are not getting good blocking in the screen game. And again, if there's one thing Lil Jordan Humphrey can do positively, it's contribute as a blocker in the screen game.
I wonder if he's going to rock 17 because 84 now is Caleb Lohner, right? So
he isn't
17's available, right? I'm pretty sure. So that's my prediction. But some hellos here. Sentinel Supreme, dear member. Yeah, first into chat. Word. Also interesting in the last 4 KC matchups since VJ's been the DC, Denver has held KC to an average of 11 points. That is interesting. And Blex, what's up, brother? I'm here to party. That's his word. When he walked up to me, I never met this man before. I knew him from the chat, but I didn't know I kind of knew what he looked like, but only in the sense that maybe you kind of watch a YouTube video or part of it, and then you meet somebody in the flesh like many weeks later. You're not necessarily going to recognize him. And he just walks up. This dude walks up at the meet and greet. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, I'm here to party. I'm like, and Blex, here he is. Shout out. Good to see you, buddies. Raj, the string guy. Hate the vertical format. Reminds me of watching a phone video and the chat doesn't work on my computer. That's cool. That's why there's also the landscape for what it's worth. We're testing it out for this week. We're going to look at the numbers and then make a final decision. But thank you for your feedback, my friend. We got a super chat from the Papa Bear. Very generous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope you're doing very, very well, my friend. He says, good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag God bless the USA. Hashtag 13-4 +++++.
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for the generous contribution. And I love the positivity, as always, with the hashtags. And let me tell you something right now. The Broncos win this game Sunday. I think they're going to meet the 13-4 record. This is a pivotal game in Broncos lore, which we'll get into with the head-to-head. Thank you so much again, David.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Much love, Papa Bear. We got Sam Bam also checking in. Both of these awesome members of the community throwing down generous supers before we even went live. We don't take that support for granted whatsoever. We appreciate both you guys. Love you. Thank you. He says, does Sam, evening guys, very excited for the game on Sunday. The Broncos have a chance to make a statement to the NFL if they can fix and overcome their recent offensive struggles. I think the mini bye will help fix that. Go Broncos. we're still at a point, Zach, where we kind of have to view, I'll speak for myself, where I kind of have to view this game against the Chiefs as a measuring stick. I want to believe that the 8-2 is like Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record says you are. And I want to believe that this is every bit an 8-2 team. But the Chiefs, man, outside of the Eagles, we can't overlook the Eagles game, which was a victory. But you throw in the Eagles, you throw in the 2 losses to the Colts and Chargers. You faced 3 high-quality opponents. I would throw the Cowboys in there for what it's worth. I would still consider the Cowboys maybe not high quality, but quality opponent. But the Chiefs, with all of the emotional juju and baggage and the history and all that stuff, like there's a reason, guys, why the odds makers like the Chiefs in this game. And some of that, Zach, has to do with 9 straight years they've won the division, 9. But also the fact that the offense has struggled mightily the past 2 weeks. This is a measuring stick game to me, Zach. But if they win this game, I will no longer view, they're playing the Chiefs as it's a measuring stick, or they're playing the Bills, or they're playing, marquee teams as measuring sticks. Now it's just marquee team versus marquee team.
Very well said. Yeah, you can go ahead and speak for me because I echo that 1000%. We don't really know who the Broncos are. That's why there's still so many detractors and there's still so much pessimism surrounding the outlook of the Broncos season. They can prove a lot of those doubters wrong with a win on Sunday. And I don't care, Sam, if they win by 100 Sunday or by 1 point on Sunday. That would be the statement win of the season for them and really grasp a firm hold on the AFC West. But beyond that, going into the actual bye week, I've never seen a team that could use the rest more. When you have Patrick Surtain out, when you have J.K. Dobbins out, Singleton out, obviously, Ben Powers is on IR. This team is beat the hell up right now, and they need that break desperately.
Man, they did a good job. We marveled at how well they did avoiding the injury bug all year long. I mean, they got deep into the season before you started really noticing the high volume and the high number of key players on the injury report. So yeah, it's getting a little sketchy here. Updates though. So let's talk about the injury report real quick today, since we kind of titled around it. So look, first, some good news. The good news is that Trent Sherfield, for whatever it's worth, who was a DNP yesterday, returned fully to practice today. Marvin Mims, he's going to be good to go. He's been full yesterday and today. And then Zach, troublingly, John Franklin Myers popped up with a back. Now he's limited today, wasn't on the injury report yesterday. I don't expect it to keep him from playing, but it's something to monitor. And then, of course, J.K. Dobbins, Zach, still 2 games in a row, DNP. Pat Surtain, 2 days in a row, DNP. So I think it's pretty safe at this stage to assume neither Dobbins nor Surtain are going to be available this week, but we got to keep an eye on Franklin Myers.
As long as JFM gets another limited tomorrow, he'll be good to go Sunday, Chad. If he's a DNP and he has maybe a setback, then obviously we might have a problem. But this is what I was saying a second ago. This team is really beat up right now, and they need that next week's bye week. It's so freaking bad.
George Fox from Facebook, brother, thank you. Good to see you. He says, I think probably little Jordan Humphrey, has pretty good hands, so that could help. Broncos for life, MHH for life. It's one of those glue guys. That's what I'll say. I don't know about the hands.
Yeah.
But Zach, he's more of a glue guy. He knows the system as well as any Bronco currently on the roster. And he's just maybe not a master of any specific trait or tool or whatever, but really good at a lot of things.
I look at him like an offensive version of Alex Singleton, where he's good for what he's good for. And if you use him in that role, he can be beneficial to your team. George, though, I don't know about the hands. I seem to recall multiple fumbles and missed passes going through little Jordan Humphrey's hands last season, and I was happy when he moved on to the Giants. But again, as long as they limit him to that blocking role to help out in the screen game, to take over what Sherfield's been doing or the lack thereof, I'm fine with it.
We've got the Ronk checking in, and it is his 3-month, I suppose, anniversary of being a member on YouTube. Love you, Ronk. He says, good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Right back at you, buddy. It's great to see Ronk in the hizzy. Shout out to, we got the Mile High Dutchie. Really cool. Well, it's also, Zach, before we, I want to see what's on the minds of the members in the chat. But before we do, guys, real quick, listen up. If you're still figuring out the whole gifts thing, House of Atlas is a absolute no-brainer. It's perfect for you. It's perfect for your brother, your roommate. And if, someone asks you, hey, what do you want for Christmas this year? And you don't have to, if you don't want to feel like, having to worry about it or think about it, House of Atlas got you covered, because you're going to use it and you're going to love it if you get it. Their grooming kits make it simple to clean up, and they actually look as good on the counter as they feel in your hand. The razor's weighted handle, pardon me, and precision trim edge make it effortless to get a smooth, clean shave every single time, which is something that most razors frankly don't do. And the best part, you can grab them at Target stores nationwide or online at target.com, so you don't have to think about it.
That's right, guys. Atlas is redefining men's grooming with premium tools and products designed to look good, feel good, and actually perform. I love the razor because it feels solid in your hand. It's not flimsy like disposable razors, and the precision trim edge makes detailing under the nose, sideburns, and edges simple and precise. Beyond the shave cream and aftershave elevate the routine with their refreshing and subtle signature scent, making grooming feel more like self-care than a chore.
Man, I'm trying to get this thing out of the box. I don't remember the one that I have in my bathroom being this hard to get out of the datgum box, but that's a minor thing. See, this is what we're talking about. Feels solid. It's nice. It's really good, and it does a good job. Excellent stuff. So don't stress over the last minute gifts or settle for shaving products that frankly don't deliver. This holiday season, give yourself or someone on your list the upgrade they deserve with House of Atlas. Grab it at Target stores nationwide or online at target.com. All right. We are, excuse me. Oh, man, some frog in my throat. We're back at it. Let's see what's on the members' minds. So, Pro 16, good to see you, bud. KC has not seen a defense like Denver's. That will be the difference. Got a prediction here. Broncos win 27-17. I dig it. I really do. Sue, she says, a little nervous about the KC game. We've got a lot of guys out. Yeah, so real quick, the guys who were cruising to be out for this week, we already talked about Dobbins. We mentioned Surtain. Alex Singleton will miss for sure this game. There's a really good chance, from what I'm hearing, this will be the only game Singleton misses, but he's gone. This week, Jonah Ellis, Nate Adkins, those are the guys, Zach, that are cruising for out for week 11.
Yeah, and still, obviously, the Broncos have their starting left guard, Ben Powers, on injured reserve. So they definitely are shorthanded, Sue. I am nervous about this game as well, and I'm not going to even be out in the field on Sunday. I don't know how I'm even predicting the game. I haven't got my prediction to Chad yet for the roundtable. I'm still kind of brewing on it. I don't know if there's one player they're going to miss more than anyone. I think, Chad, it's going to be J.K. Dobbins, because they won't have so much of that ball control offense. He's been the engine, averaging well over 4 yards a carry. I think he's the number 4 running back by yards in the NFL. And going from having him and Harvey to Harvey and Bidet is a big downgrade when you're facing Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes.
Just that ease and the confidence to carry the load as the bell cow guy. And of course, in a Sean Payton offense, a bell cow is 15 carries, right? If you get 15 carries, you're a bell cow in Sean Payton's scheme. But I'm just not convinced yet. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, but I'm not certain. I'm not convinced RJ is ready to be that guy, but he very well could, because you think back to that Cowboys game, Zach, where he had the 40-yard, was it a 40-yard touchdown? I believe that happened early in the game. So, one of the strengths of J.K. Dobbins is that he's been able to really just wear defenses down in the second half. And a lot of that, Zach, is because Sean Payton doesn't really use him as much until the second half, but we'll see. That's a very kind of key situation to monitor in this game, is running back. Is RJ ready? Shannon Mills, a dear member, jumping in on Super Chat. Thank you, Shannon. You've been awesome lately. Much love and respect. Mile high salute. You're a bona fide superstar. Shannon says, good evening. The Broncos really need this bye and this win on Sunday. Go Broncos. Yeah, Zach, if they win, imagine how great the next 14 days. Normally a bye week in the middle of this, where at any point in the season, that 14 days, man, it starts to feel like a really long time. But if they get this win on Sunday, it'll pass, I think, a little bit faster for everybody.
Yeah, and taking the other route as well. If they lose, no matter what, it's going to be a pretty miserable bye week. But I'm hopeful they'll be competitive. I think they'll take it down to the wire as they showed last season at Arrowhead. They should have won that game. I know I say it a lot, but it's true. If not for Alex Forsyth, but Shannon, your point is well taken here. Obviously, the win Sunday, but as I said a minute ago, the bye week next week could not come at a better time for this team. Thank you for the super.
By the way, I'm a Jets fan tonight just because the Patriots are keeping up with the Broncos and the Colts in the 2-loss column in the AFC. So I'm hoping the Jets can set them back, and they drew first blood for what it's worth. The Jets just drove down to open the game and got a touchdown, sucked a lot of time off the clock. Let's go. DJ Capo in the house from the Bayou checking in, saying, "What's up, Broncos fam?" Rashid, Lil Jordan, Sean, Rashid up, Lil Jordan down. Zach,
Yeah,
do you know what he's
I
talking
think
about?
Yeah, I think he's saying the Broncos should have went after Rashid Shaheed instead of signing Lil Jordan Humphrey, and he's saying why Sean Payton. And he was traded to the Seahawks. I don't know that the Broncos were ever in on him, Capo. I know there was a report that they were talking to the Dolphins about Jalen Waddle, but Waddle's price tag was too expensive. And you could argue that they should have went out and got better receiver help. But again, for what you're bringing Lil Jordan in for, the screen game and the blocking, you could do a lot worse.
True. I think, again, Lil Jordan Humphrey, especially Zach with J.K. Dobbins being out, it's going to be nice to have his kind of big, small tight end / big wide receiver blocking acumen.
Yep.
Hopefully it makes a difference. RJ Harvey as a rusher, remember the talking points in August? Oh, he wants to bounce everything outside. Oh, he's bouncing everything outside. Well, as his rookie year has progressed, man, he's shown some development, some patience in that inside zone, taking his time, waiting for the blocking to develop, exploding downhill. I'm really excited to see that. But in the events, especially Zach, when he does go, you know what? I see an angle and break one outside. You got a guy like Lil Jordan Humphrey there to help set the edge.
And with how disappointing relative to the expectations Evan Ingram has been as the starting tight end, you mentioned Lil Jordan being like a smaller tight end. Maybe he can help out in the middle of the field where the Broncos and Bo Nix have struggled this season.
Yeah, he's like, he's big. He's a big wide receiver. I'm not looking at his measurables, but 6'4", 215 or something, like maybe even heavier than that.
I think he's 225, yeah.
225. So, he's a thick boy. Tucson Phil in the house. What's going on, big dog? Great to see you. He says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Really hope Harvey steps up this week. I want to see Pat Bryant make some great plays. The Chiefs have their backs against the wall. They're at the point of a must-win game. Too bad for them, LOL. #Buckham. That's one of the things, like Zach was saying, when it comes to predicting this game, we don't really, neither Zach nor myself, have to decide yet. Till the roundtable, pardon me, comes out tomorrow about lunchtime is when we have to kind of put our chips down. But I, too, am still vacillating on how I feel this one's going to shake out. But that's one of the things that keeps me vacillating, Zach, is I wouldn't necessarily say the Chiefs are desperate, but they cannot afford any more losses, let alone in the division, if they want to get their 10th straight AFC crown. And that's, desperation, especially when it's a good team. It can equate to some unfortunate things if you're the opponent.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Phil, I understand what you're trying to express here, and you're right, but it could be too bad for the Broncos. Not only do the Chiefs have that cornered animal mentality like Chad was talking about, they're coming off a bye week. They're going to be rested. They're going to be motivated. They want nothing more than to come into Denver and get a big win over Bo Nix and try to get back into the AFC West picture. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. And like Chad just said, I'm not even sure how the game's going to go yet.
If the playoffs started, gosh, I don't know what it is with this frog in my throat, but if the playoffs started tomorrow, the Chiefs would be out, Zach. So that tells you that, man, the Broncos, they're going to get their best shot.
Definitely. It's still the Chiefs. It's still a divisional game. Look at the Raiders. Everyone, including myself, Chad, thought it was going to be a blowout, and it should have been a blowout. But divisional games are always tough, and this is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and the rest. The Broncos have to bring it from the opening whistle.
Ronk jumping in with a super chat again. Thank you, brother. Saying # beat the Chiefs no matter what. I love it, dude. Amen to that. From your lips to the ears of the football gods. Zach, let's take some time. We're at 20 minutes. It's a little bit earlier in the show than we might normally do it, but let's go ahead and rock this head to head. You ready? So it is Thursday. So we're here. Let's knock it out. We'll come right back to the chat when we're done. And by the way, guys, anything that you see as we go through these head to heads, remember, feel free to ask questions or share your insights, gleanings on what you see in the chat, because we will come back to you here shortly. But Broncos 8-2, Chiefs 5-4. Look at that turnover margin, Zach. They're 5-4, but they're +4 in turnover margin. The Broncos are -4. So Bo Nix has been on a trajectory to finish with a few more interceptions than he did last year. And meanwhile, the defense has not been too great at taking the ball away. That's like the only nit you can really pick in this Broncos defense. Time of possession, Zach, the Chiefs are ranked 5th. So they're doing a good job. When you see that higher time of possession, that means they're converting on third down. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I'm going to assume they're highly ranked on third down. There you go. They're 9th. So offensively, the Chiefs are 7th. The yards per play, they're 9th. Points, they're 9th, averaging 26.1. So basically a field goal more than the Broncos. Rushing, they're kind of just outside the top 10. Passing, Zach, they're 5th. I mean, look at this is a top offense. And it didn't look that way early this season, Zach, but they have come on strong. And meanwhile, I mean, you look at their red zone, 70%. So the Broncos have fallen a little bit the last couple of weeks. Starting in that Houston game, their red zone efficiency has plummeted a little bit. They used to be a lot higher. But the Chiefs, Zach, 3rd. Mahomes has only been sacked 17 times, which compared to Bo Nix's 11 seems like a lot, but it's not. It's ranked for the 8th fewest. And the only green you're seeing on the Broncos side, Zach, rushing, they're still in the top 10. Sacks allowed, 2nd fewest, and then 10th in red zone.
I know it's not showing up there. First of all, going back to TOP, time of possession, like you were talking about, the Chiefs are almost 2 full minutes better than the Broncos. And that's exactly what I was talking about a few minutes ago. The Broncos have to find a way without J.K. Dobbins to keep the chains moving, keep Mahomes on the sideline, burn up clock, and get the ball in the end zone. One reason why Kansas City's offense has come back to life, not just getting Rashee Rice back at receiver, Pacheco, the running backs are doing work, the grinded out kind of game. And ironically, it's the one area there where it's not green. They're 12th in rushing, but still, if you watch the Kansas City games, it's why it goes beyond the box score. That's how they're converting. That's how they're staying on the field. And that's why you're seeing a top ranked offense. So the Broncos on the defensive side have to shut down the ground game of Kansas City. I think Pacheco is banged up anyway. Force Mahomes into 3rd and longs and then sack his ass.
And then look, I mean, they haven't even lost a fumble, and Mahomes has only been picked off 5 times. So that explains, without even looking at their defense, that explains why they're ranked fairly high in turnover differential. But when we examine these defenses, look at this. The Broncos have fallen into the bottom 10 in terms of takeaways. That's the only metric really that kind of you go, ooh. But meanwhile, the Chiefs, Zach, they're 6th ranked in yards, 4th in points. They're only allowing, we'll call it 18 points a game, but barely more than the Broncos. So 17.7 to 17.3 for Denver. Passing, they're ranked 7th. They're pretty close to top 10 in against the run, but takeaways total, they have 9. They've got 20 sacks, which, you know, they're barely outside the bottom 10 on that front. But they still don't let that fool you, because this defensive coordinator, with also having guys like Jones and Karlaftis and all that, they find ways to manufacture pressure. So watch for that. But one of their Achilles heels, as you can see down here, Zach, red zone defense isn't so hot. Meanwhile, Broncos are, pardon me, 1st in red zone, 1st in third down, 1st in sacks, an enormous amount already. 3rd in yards, 3rd in scoring, 4th in rushing, 6th in passing.
Yeah, I was going to kind of mark out overall the first there for the Broncos, but you did that for me. We talked about the nit that you can pick, and you're right. The takeaways aren't there. It's why it's the black and the red. But you can't even fault them when quarterbacks aren't getting time to set up and pass, because the pass rush is so lethal. As long as they're stopping them on third down, opposing teams, stopping them in the red zone and getting after the quarterback, you cannot give VJ enough credit.
It really is conspicuous that they have that many sacks, because these are just the results of the pressure, right? but it's constant pressure. Their pressure metrics are off the chains in terms of pressures, QB hits, hurries, all that stuff off the chain. And it really is conspicuous that, Zach, it has not translated to more than 8 takeaways in 10 games.
Or at least fumble recoveries. You think a lot of those quarterback sacks would result in strip sacks, and it's just like you said, it hasn't come.
I think that's maybe a coaching emphasis thing. Like, hey, outside linebackers, guys, let's start working into our practice routine, our technique, ball punch out drills, little things like that to like put it more front of brain for the rushers. Walk that line without taking away from the great job they're already doing getting after the quarterback. By the way, when it comes to the punting thing from last week, I don't know if you guys saw what the Darren Rizzi, the special teams coordinator, said about it, but he basically gave Jeremy Crawshaw a pass. And he said, look, I know fans, I'm going to paraphrase it. He said, but I know fans have maybe a hard time understanding this, but there's a difference between high wind, so up in the air wind, and like ground level wind. And in this particular game, it wasn't this way during pregame. It started happening in the middle of the game, but it was ground level. And so the drops, when a punter goes through his stroke, goes up, releases the ball to then kick it. It was that side wind, and he wasn't really adjusting for it. And he tried to point out, did Rizzi, that the Raiders punter, AJ Cole, he had a hard time too, dropped one on the ground. I'm like, dude, that guy was a dagger for the Raiders. Right. What are you talking about? But anyway, back to the rankings here. The Chiefs have one of the best special teams coordinators in the NFL, Dave Toub, former Broncos head coaching candidate. What jumps out to you here, Zach?
Well, first of all, it seems like there's a distinct accountability problem on special teams, doesn't it, Chad? The other week, Sean Payton was blaming the execution. Now Darren Rizzi's blaming Mother Nature. He's blaming the wind. It happened more than once, too. So how many times does that excuse really hold water? But regardless here, not too much to like. There's no green on that side, and I'll keep my comments very simple. If this was a Mike Westhoff or Ben Kotwika coach unit, I would venture to guess there'd be green on that side.
Hey, here's a silver lining. At least the Broncos kickoff coverage is no longer dead last in the NFL. We've moved up a couple spots, so there's that. Obviously, none of this is good enough, and hurting the numbers here has been the 2-game absence of Marvin Mims in terms of the return aspect. So that's on the upswing. And then penalties, the Broncos are tied for 31st most, or second most, I should say. Right? Yeah, second most. Only one team has more than the Broncos, 83 total. And then their opponents, second most, which is crazy, man. They just love throwing flags in Bronco games. Whereas for the Chiefs, they have the 10th fewest number of penalties, so a much more poised. Now, we can joke and commiserate and the old theory, Zach, that the Chiefs' favoritism of the refs and all that stuff. And some of that holds true when you're basically the modern New England Patriots, right? You're the modern Tom Brady that gets all the calls. And even Peyton Manning, guys, let's not forget, during his 4 years here, he got a lot of calls that went his way for the Broncos, or things that weren't called because it was Peyton Manning, stuff like that. But nevertheless, Zach, that kind of covers it as far as penalties, specials, defense, and offense.
I mean, if you asked 100 people whether the Chiefs would have the 10th fewest penalties in the NFL, 100 people would say yes. It's more than just a theory, Chad. The referee for Sunday's game, Adrian Hill, the Chiefs are 4-0 when Hill is the referee. This is beyond just a coincidence now.
Real quick, let's just take a peek at the stats. Whoa, why'd you do that? Stats of these two teams, if it won't jump back on me. So real quick, defensive tackle leaders, Singleton leads the way for Denver's 89. Nick Bolton, who they re-signed, 75. Sacks, Karlaftis with 5. Benito leads the way with 9.5. I mean, our third-ranked guy has more than their leader. Isn't that crazy, right? Yep. That's insane. Interceptions, they have 6 guys with 1, and the Broncos would have 4 guys with 1, were it not for Andre Tillman picking off that last one. And then we get to receiving yards. Kelsey has 540. Sutton leads Denver with 590. Dobbins leads in rushing with 772. Pacheco with basically half that, 329. And then yardage in the passing game, Mahomes has, we'll call it 225 more than Bo Nix. And there is your head-to-head for this week. So Scott says 46 sacks would have been the sixth most in 2024 in terms of the whole season total, with only 4 teams ahead of the Broncos. That's if that had been, Zach, their entire number. It's crazy. And by the way, thank you for bringing this up, Mr. Producer. If we're doing like let's look back at the trades the Broncos have orchestrated. Devon Vele update, Zach, going into week 11, 6 receptions for the Saints. 6 receptions for the Saints, 54 yards, but he does have a touchdown.
I mean, he is also playing with a rookie quarterback. He was playing with Spencer Rattler. You got to cut him a little slack, but it's a point well taken because the Broncos got quite the haul in exchange for Vele. Although I will say this, when a pass is clanking off of Troy Franklin's hands, I do miss Vele's sure-handedness a little bit.
No doubt about it. George Fox, I think we'll get 4 sacks on Sunday. If we do that, we win. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you, buddy. And Bleck says, remember, if the game tonight is close, Drake May is regressing and the Patriots are frauds. I know. If it applies to Bo Nix and the Broncos, it should apply to everybody, but we know that is not how it's going to be analyzed. And the Patriots just scored, so they're about to tie it up. Anyway, Taylor Christensen, my brother, great to see you. Time for RJ Harvey to show why he's the future. Go Broncos. No doubt about it. And everyone around him this week, Zach, has been saying really good things about him. I wrote an article about it today, guys. Go give it a read at milehighhuddle.com. But I'm feeling good about it for RJ. I'm just not sure yet. I'm not 100% that he's fully ready to take on that mantle. And what's the last you heard on Dobbins, Zach, as far as I know we don't have word yet on a second opinion, but what's the latest you've heard?
It's another Dre Greenlaw situation where it seems like we're being kept in the dark by the Broncos and they don't want to let on how severe it might be. The good thing is he was not put on injured reserve, so it can't be that severe. I've heard 2 to 4 weeks. I've heard about a month, but fortunately the Broncos do have the bye week. Sean Payton said they'll be evaluating Dobbins with the other players like Surtain and Singleton and the rest. So hopefully it's on an extended absence. And I'm with you. I think RJ Harvey is the future. I love what he's done so far. I just don't know if he's ready in this moment for this opportunity. And if he doesn't have a 100-yard game, I just hope the fans have a little, grace for him. That's all.
DJ Capo jumping in again, rocking his sick Bo Nix jersey. He says, Zach, we both felt the same about Lil Jordan, I think is who he's talking about, last year. Our O-line this year is not good with these ER
wide receivers, I guess.
Huh?
I think he means WR for wide receiver.
With speed, see, I'm like the guy trying to understand. He got his kid's phone and he's going through it trying to understand. I'm like total old guy right now. DJ says, with speed, Rashid would have been better for Nix. I think that whole, why didn't the Broncos do something at the trade deadline? I feel you. I'm not trying to minimize here, DJ, but I think it's been magnified by the absence of Marvin Mims. And as I've said many times, guys, on this podcast, I'm not a huge believer in coincidences. And the fact that Bo Nix's mini slump has directly equated to the 2 games in which Marvin Mims was unavailable, there's something to that. So I think having him back for this game against the Chiefs is going to be huge for Bo and the offense.
And Capo, I still feel the same about Lil Jordan. That's why I said earlier, I hope he doesn't steal one pass pattern from Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant or Marvin Mims for that matter. If they want to use him as a blocker, that's one thing. He'll be an upgrade over Sherfield. And that's why they're different than they were last season. They have a little more depth there. Rashid Shaheed, you wonder whether Jalen Waddle or Shaheed would have been a good acquisition. Then you also wonder if they would have even dialed up a play to get them the ball or whether Bo Nix would deliver them an accurate ball. There is so many more complicating factors that go into why the offense is in a slump beyond just the receivers. There's a lot of culprits at play here.
I mean, for what it's worth today, Sean Payton was unwilling to pile on Bo. Sorry, not today, yesterday. Was unwilling to pile on Bo. And while former colleagues of his at Fox, like Colin Cowherd, are literally throwing Bo Nix under the bus, Sean Payton, he's saying, in fact, I'll read one little stretch to you guys. Sean Payton said, I think it's not Bo. I think it's not Bo. It's part of the whole process offensively and constantly in our game planning this week. And he goes on, I'll paraphrase him, it's the penalties. We're doing, quote, a great job of not taking sacks, but when we're all of a sudden 1st and 20, we have to eliminate those, close quote. Pick a quarterback in the NFL, Zach, that can successfully bail a team out time and time again out of 1st and 20s, 2nd and 15s. It's really tough. They can do it once in a while. They're going to, hey, nice play or a good play call or whatever. Most of the time, man, you're going to get to 3rd and long and you're going to punt. And so he's not wrong. But the problem here is, Sean, that's your responsibility. You're the head coach. Why are the Broncos 3/4 of the way almost through the season basically still pacing the NFL in penalties?
It's exactly what I was going to say, Part, as always, where the root of the issue when you talk about penalties, that goes back to coaching. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. It's not just Sean Payton as to why the offense is in a little slump right now. Bo Nix has gone into that, the receivers, the blocking, everyone, but it really starts with the head coach, who is also the offensive play caller and the chief game planner and designer and architect of this offense. So if you have the pie, the blame pie, multiple people get slices here, but the biggest slice, based on virtue of him being the head coach, belongs to Sean Payton.
Man, it's not just the penalties themselves. What leads to the penalties are these mental miscues and just an overall lack of discipline. And I hate to say it, Zach, but the signs are not pointing in the right direction that accountability is suddenly reigning in Denver. When you have the special teams coordinator, literally, first of all, Sean Payton, not criticizing Bo, not to pile on Bo, but he's been worthy of criticism. He's not willing to do that. Fine. Protecting his psyche, doing the thing. Fine. But then you got the special teams coordinator literally making every excuse under the sun and doing everything he can to avoid pointing the finger at the punter, who also is a rookie. That's worth mentioning, right? This is still new. They got to kind of protect those egos a little bit. But nevertheless, it's not a great sign, Zach, that all of a sudden, out of the blue, after a season of leading the NFL in penalties, which are a massive sign of lack of discipline, lack of responsibility, lack of accountability, that's all of a sudden going to change.
It's not. That's just what we have to live with. And you hear Rizzy talking. Who does Rizzy work for? Who hired Darren Rizzy? Who's the only reason that Rizzy has a job right now is because of Sean Payton. And I guarantee you, like you're just saying there, that sort of mindset, lack of accountability in certain areas that require it, that starts with the coaching, the head coach.
By the way, shout out Sean Sandoval. Yeah, buddy, we love you too. And you're about to see some Jaleel McLaughlin, because the Broncos can now dress. They're down a guy, so he'll be dressing. And I think you'll see him probably as the number 2. I think Bidet, Zach, will stay as kind of that 3rd down guy. This is just my educated guess based on also what Sean Payton and the coaching staff have said this week. But I predict that it's going to be 1 Harvey, 2 McLaughlin. Bidet continues doing his thing as kind of that 3rd down guy. Phil, if thanks for jumping in again, brother. If Dobbins is going to be out for a while, do we pick up a Davis Price, a Zach Moss, Dante Foreman? I really would like to see McLaughlin break one open. I've been waiting to see McLaughlin take one to the house for like his entire career, and he's been close on a few. But Zach, what's your answer here for Phil?
Well, you guys know that SpongeBob meme where it's Squidward watching Patrick Bob play outside, he's inside looking miserable. That's how I equate Jaleel McLaughlin this season. I don't know what landed him in Sean Payton's doghouse, but by necessity now, he's going to be coming out of that doghouse. I'm with you, Phil. I'm excited to see more Jaleel. He can have some playmaking ability with RJ. But the running backs you mentioned there, maybe except for Davis Price, they're all injury prone. Like Zach Moss, Foreman, you don't really want to replace one injury prone back with another. So I think they'll just roll with who they have.
Thank you, Phil. And Mike Reno, adios, buddy. Thanks for joining us for a minute here tonight. Cody Dub jumping in, waiting for this Joker Sean. Got to do something. I mean, look, it's still a young team. I'm trying to be as forgiving, Zach, and generous as I can. Like, in terms of benefit of the doubt, the Broncos are still a young team. But Sean Payton keeps standing up there at the podium and saying, I'm telling my guys that, yeah, we understand the importance of this game, but we're going to play in bigger games. It's like, okay, how much does telling your guys that, first of all, really serve them? Like, I'm trying to understand what the point of that honestly is. Like, why do you keep saying that? But nevertheless, Sean Payton is dealing with still, I think, Zach, a young team that has, by virtue of what they achieved last year, finally retasted and relearned and rewired their brains for winning. I mean, they went from a 1-6 record in one-score games last season to being 6-2 this season. There's a lot of signs that they have matured, Zach, and taken steps forward. But this whole penalty thing, half, if not more, of the Broncos, what ails them currently as a 8-2 team, let's not lose sight of that, is the penalties. They got it because it's not just off offense, Zach, putting them behind the sticks, but the untimely PIs, the defensive holding, the roughing, the jumping off sides in particular has been a problem. Encroachment this year for the Broncos. So get to the bottom of that, coach, then start talking about, hey, we're going to play in bigger games.
I read somewhere that the Broncos lead the NFL in automatic first down penalties. So penalties that result in automatic first downs. And that's eye-opening. But Cody, this is a situation, I think you're talking about Evan Ingram here. This is a situation where Sean Payton's reputation precedes him. He wouldn't be getting in so much hot water if he didn't right before the season, say he has a Super Bowl caliber team, or Bo Nix is a top 5 guy, or Evan Ingram is going to be this joker and this Pro Bowler in his offense. It's another situation where Sean Payton's ego spoke and wrote a check that he cannot cash. I want to see more of Evan Ingram, but maybe the acquisition of Lil Jordan Humphrey doesn't spell too many great things for him.
No doubt. William, the Broncos had 63 sacks last season, leading the NFL. So they're less than 20 already away from that. They're 17 away from matching their whole season record, which was the most in the NFL. It's pretty crazy. Okay, guys, we're getting pretty close to sign-off time. I'm going to see what else the members have to say. David T., I would love to stay on, but I got to prepare. Okay, enjoy dinner, buddy. Let me see here. Jordan Lewis, I really hope the offense gets going early this game and that we can minimize penalties. That's, as far as like ever since really, Zach, I think it was the Giants game is when you started hearing it as kind of a groundswell from the fans about give us more tempo. When Bo Nix runs tempo, man, the results are astounding. And Sean Payton has said multiple times, I don't want to talk about tempo. I don't want to hear about tempo. To him, it seems tempo is just kind of generally starting fast, meaning getting on the board early and all that stuff. He hasn't articulated a good reason why tempo is only reserved for desperation moments. And so we're left to kind of deduce why that might be. And the only thing I can think of, Zach, is one of the hallmarks of the Sean Payton thing offensively is the constant substitutions, constant at the skill positions, like never ending subs on and off. And it does make it harder on a defense. But if you're running tempo, it's a lot harder to do that. So for him, that's more important, it would seem anyway, Zach, than, hey, opening possession, we're going to call like traditional, here's our first 15 type thing. Fine. Come back in on the second, maybe the third possession, go no huddle, play some tempo, make the defense think a little bit, then go back to your huddle on the next possession, like mix it up a little bit, but he doesn't have any interest in doing that. And maybe if Scott were on right now with the football brain and experience he has, he could divine a reason that we're missing here. But I agree with you, Jordan, even though what you said had nothing to do with tempo. The fact that you talked about getting going early reminded me of what Sean Payton said yesterday.
Yeah, it's got to be the subs. I don't know what else. It's Sean Payton coming up with these game plans that involve heavy screen passes and going 3 and out a lot to start the game. And you're right, Jordan, that cannot continue. I want to see a start like they came out against Buffalo in the wild card game. It went up 7-0 on a long Troy Franklin touchdown. That's the aggressiveness we need. We just have to hope the Broncos can keep the foot on the throat, so to speak.
Hey, shout out Big Earn. Great to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Broncos country only, baby. Amen to that. Okay, guys, we have the Ronk saying the Broncos defense needs to make Mahomes pay for beating the Broncos. Yeah, all those years, right? However many of the 16, I'm trying to think. I think he was credited with 14 of the 16 straight wins that the Chiefs had over Denver were Mahomes started games. One, the second matchup in 2015, that was Alex Smith. They got the win, did the Chiefs. The first matchup of 2016, that was Alex Smith. And then at the end of that season, no. I'm losing track. Forget what I just said. I think it might be less than that, actually. Like 12 of them, Zach, were it's still a lot, but 12 of them were Patrick Mahomes. The other one's Alex Smith. The point being, though, he's saying they got to make Mahomes pay.
Yeah, that's how you beat Kansas City is cut off the snake at the head. The head is Patrick Mahomes. Get him on the ground, fluster him, preferably turn him over, and you're going to probably win that game on Sunday.
I like this, Jordan. We got to minimize those penalties this game. First and second and longs will kill drives. So true. And we spent a lot of tonight's show talking about that. David Vasquez, good to see you on Facebook. Broncos haven't played a game of this caliber since the Shanahan days. I don't know, man. Who was it? Matt Berterame of SI National said that this is the biggest game the Broncos have played in 10 years. Zach, do you agree?
Yeah, I would argue that the Buffalo playoff game was a pretty big game as well. But in terms of regular season, yeah, this is the biggest game and one of the biggest games overall since Super Bowl 50.
You can pick nits and be like, well, no, the season finale last year, that was the biggest game, even though the Chiefs were starting their second teamers because the Broncos had to win that to clinch a playoff berth and snap their preceding 8-year playoff drought. But, you know, that win was coming no matter what. The Chiefs were playing their second teamers. And that's another thing to remember in this one, Zach. It wasn't just that the Broncos beat their backups. They shut them out 38-0, not 16-0, not 19-0 or 20, 38-0. Sean Payton used it as a stat padding game for his guys on offense, making sure certain dudes got their bonuses, this, that, and the other. So, you know, even though it was the second teamer, Zach, that had to suffer that ignominy for the most part, this Chiefs team's going to be rip-roaring to face the Broncos, especially coming off the bye, too. Their bye, Andy Reid's only lost 4 games after the bye ever.
And with a referee that they're 4-0 with. But I look to how they played at Arrowhead last year, too, Chad, especially in the second half. Bo Nix arguably outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and they should have won that game on that field goal attempt.
Yeah, Todd, Drake May has been playing well. MVP level well. If you were to vote right now, Zach, for MVP of the 2025 NFL season, who would you vote for?
Stafford's up there. Baker Mayfield's up there. Drake May would get a couple votes for sure. He's playing really good ball right now. Can't even hate.
Honestly, the most valuable player, dude, has been Jonathan Taylor. But he won't get it because he's a running back.
No.
He'll get Offensive Player of the Year, but he's been the most valuable player. But hey, if you're going to put Drake May up there, put Danny Dimes, as they're calling him now. Daniel Jones up there. But all right, guys, we got a few messages for you. We'll take one last look at the chat before we dip out, so don't go anywhere.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com. Get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your Football Priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important as always that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
This is true, Ronk. Drake May has Josh McDaniels as his OC for whatever that's worth. Raj, thank you, buddy. Hit the like button for the #1 best Broncos podcast. Thank you, pal. A mile high salute to the great Super Chat superstar supporters and members helping us keep the lights on tonight, like Sam Bam and the Papa Bear early on, George Fox, the Ronk, also a member for 3 months. So cool. Shannon Mills, who's become a member and a bona fide superstar. Tucson Phil, DJ Capo, multiple supers. Taylor Christensen, Cody Dubb. Thank you guys. Seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate your support. And hey, we're off, Zach and I, as a tandem until Sunday for the gut reaction. Look for our official Broncos Chiefs predictions tomorrow at the website. We'll share it in the community tab on YouTube, but you can just go to milehighhuddle.com about lunchtime and it'll be there. So look for that. Still kind of mulling it over here, Zach, and then I'll see you guys Saturday for Broncos Book Club. Can't wait.
Have a great start to your weekend. Chad and I both will see you Sunday for the gut reaction following Broncos Chiefs. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.